Hello, this is Mark from Bailey Software, and today I'm going to show how to work with categories in Fund Manager. Categories allow you to analyze your holdings by category across sub-portfolios and investments. In Fund Manager, there are three sets of categories you can use: asset type, investment goal, and sectors. They can be used for any purpose you want. Category assignment is done at the investment level. You can manually assign your investments to categories or have Fund Manager automatically retrieve the category information from the internet, or use a combination of both methods. Before assigning any categories, set up the category names you would like to use under Options, Category Labels. You can see you can adjust the category labels for any of the three sets of categories by just clicking on the category name and change it to whatever you want. If you're going to be retrieving category information, you shouldn't modify any of the labels that are not named unused. Only modify the ones that are labeled unused, because the other ones are used for retrieving. You can also adjust the order that the categories are displayed just by highlighting a category and using the move up or move down buttons. You can also use these categories for anything that you want. You don't have to use them for asset type or investment goals or sectors. For example, if you wanted to keep track of your investments and analyze them by country, you could use the investment goal category for country and just highlight each one of these and change it to the countries that you want to track. Once you have the category names defined the way you want, you can assign your investments to categories. First, we'll go over how you can manually assign investments to categories. You do this in the Investment Properties dialog box. So go to the Properties of an investment, and you can see that there's one tab for each of the category names. So we're going to work with asset types. Here you can see that this investment is currently assigned to 100% of the large core / blend category. If you wanted to change this, you could just highlight it, click change percentage, and enter any percentage that you want, or you can double click and it'll move 100% of it. You don't have to use 100% in any one particular category. You could put 50% here. Oops. You could put 50%, 40%, and we'll put 10% here. The total just has to add up to 100%, but you can distribute it among as many different categories as you need. You can also apply all these changes to all investments across in your whole database based on matching symbol. So if you set the properties the way you want, when you turn on this option, when you apply it, any other investments that have this same symbol will be updated with these same percentages. This option here allows you to prevent this from being updated when you retrieve category information from the internet. You can also click on Edit Labels here, and that'll bring you back to the same Category Labels dialog box if you wanted to make some changes. But typically you want to set up your category labels before you start doing the assignments. So for a more automated way of assigning investments to categories, you can have Fund Manager automatically retrieve this information. You do that under the Edit menu, go to Internet Retrieve, and then Fund Manager can either retrieve asset types or sectors. It won't retrieve investment goals currently, but you can have it retrieve either one of these for you. So we're going to take a look at retrieving asset types. You can choose which subportfolio you want to operate on. You can only retrieve asset types in this particular subportfolio. If you want to do everything, select your topmost subportfolio. You can if you've been experimenting and you want to reset everything, you can say reset all and it'll put everything back to the uncategorized position. We'll go ahead and do that. Then you choose which server you want to retrieve from. Currently there are 3 supported servers and each one works slightly different. If you click on one, you can read some tips about how that server works. For this tutorial, we're just going to use the Morningstar server, and the Morningstar server, it updates any investment with that's designated as a mutual fund, stock, or ETF for their investment types. Things like cash or straight bonds would just be skipped. They would not be retrieved, but a bond fund would. Then you can choose what happens if a particular investment is not able to be retrieved. You can have it reset to uncategorized, or you can just tell it to leave it as it currently is. You can also choose to skip over any investments that are marked as hidden, and also skip over any investments that you've disabled price retrieve for. So for this tutorial, we're just going to leave things like this and say OK to actually go out and retrieve asset types for all of our investments. And you can see there's 18 securities that it's requesting. Okay, once it finishes, it tells you what happened. It found 18 unique symbols that were either a fund, stock, or ETF to retrieve. And it was actually able to retrieve all 18 of them. It didn't move any to the uncategorized category. Actually, there were 20 investments that updated. This means that we have the same security in more than one sub-portfolio. There were two extras. And you could take a look at the log file if you want to see the details, but for now we'll just say no to viewing the log file. Okay, once your investments are all assigned to your categories, you can then start graphing or reporting by category. We'll start off by taking a look at a report. You can use most of any of these reports by asset type. We're going to take a look at the portfolio performance report. And you can subtotal by asset type. You can also choose if I wanted to report at the master portfolio level across all sub-portfolios by asset type. I could subtotal by asset type and then list by investment. Or if you turn off subtotaling, you can just straight list by category or asset type in this case. So we're going to report on the TD Ameritrade sub-portfolio, no subtotals, and we're going to list by asset type. So you can see we have, here's our listing of asset types, and then there's our total for all of TD Ameritrade. Each line item is an asset type. You can see here that we have some investments that did not get categorized. You can dive down into any one of these just by clicking on it. And you can see that here we have a report that's being filtered by the uncategorized asset type, and it's listing by investment. If I were to go show the report settings, you can see that we're listing by investment, and we're just filtering out only investments that are in the uncategorized asset type so that we can see what is in that category. So our cash did not get assigned. That's because it's assigned as a cash, and so it didn't get retrieved. So to manually assign that, we just go to the properties. And you can see that since it is a cash investment type, it did not get retrieved from Morningstar. So we'll just go to the asset type, and we're going to assign it ourselves. We could either pick one of the existing asset types, and at the bottom of this list are some of the fixed incomes that are used for a lot of bond funds. We could maybe choose that one, but for this tutorial we're just going to define our own. We're going to reuse unused one. We're going to go to Edit Labels. In unused one, I'm just going to change it to cash. And now we have a cash asset type that we can assign to, and I'm going to put all of cash into cash. And anything else that has a cash symbol, I will update that as well to the same. And we can turn this on. It really doesn't matter since it's a cash type investment. It's not going to be retrieved anyway, but we'll just make sure by telling it not to update this investment when you retrieve asset types. And we'll say OK. And you can see that we no longer have anything in the uncategorized asset type. And now we have cash in its own line item. Let's see. Should go over maybe some of the other reports. You can use any of these reports. For example, you can make a custom report and subtotal or list by asset type. There's also a stock report called asset allocation. It basically is very similar to the portfolio performance. It just has different columns and it lists by asset type. If you go to a custom report, you have the same set of options. You can subtotal by asset type and list by investment. When you do subtotal by asset type, you're then limited to only listing by investment. But if we turn off subtotals, we could list by asset type and create a custom report with any of the regular custom settings available. I'll show how you would subtotal by asset type by going back to TD Ameritrade, and this time we're going to subtotal by asset type and list by investment. Previously we were not subtotaling and just listing by asset type. And here you can see each one of these subtotals is an asset type, and it breaks down the investments in this asset type. For graphing by category, we'll take a look at the pie chart and the stacked value graphs. The pie chart can be plotted by any of these items, including the 3 categories that we're talking about here. So if I just do a pie chart by asset allocation, you can see that it shows the breakdown. And similarly to zooming in on a graph, you can zoom in on a pie chart slice by just left mouse clicking on any pie slice, and it'll open up a report so you can see what is in this large value asset type. Besides pie chart, you can also do a stacked value graph by any of these items. Stacked value graph is basically a pie chart versus time. So you can see how your allocation is versus time. So far we've been using the asset type category. The investment goal and sector categories work the same way. So you really have 3 independent ways to break down and analyze your holdings using categories. Okay, this completes the category tutorial. Thanks for watching.